Hello there and welcome back to my videos. In this video we want to create the project, the authentication system where I'm working on, and you can find it on Docker. If you are friendly, you can subscribe to this channel in the right corner on the link below, and of course if you have any questions please make them as the comments below. And I'm a software engineer and I love to sending out of what I'm knowing and teach out people out there, and that's my purpose of this channel, of course. And this video is how you're building the microservice about the authentication system. So a little bit about what we want to do today, and what we want to do is creating the provider session. Right now we having the account login, and how the way to authenticate the token, it's true or not, but it's only for one now. So if you want to spin up a multi-system of this code, you need to several of containers or several of virtual machines to running this code. And what I want to do now, it's preparing about the provider, so we can have one account to multi access. Like if you have a blog like me, you can have some of the users, it's going directly inside here and getting the access for the blog about this authentication system. Or you can use it for like is this user having the administration access for an area of other purpose, you can do this. So for now we will creating the provider system, and I will only do the basic stuff, how you can create it, and I'll build more videos about how you can get the data and update it inside. So let's starting to build the ODM. We will build it here to create a new file and call it provider. And in the provider, I want to, from the Mongo engine, I want to import the document and provider document inside here. And in the provider we need a name, and the name needs a string fields. And why we have the name of the provider, it's only to identify what the provider is. It could be anything, but when we do it we need to require it. So we need always to require the name field. And then we need the description, and description is like a string field. You can do whatever you want here, but description is something you can do when you need to type a little bit information about it. So that's what we want. And in the future I want to working with the environments, so we know it could be a store economic system where I need a tax rate, then you can add environments and something like that. So that's why we are defining it right now. It's nothing we want to use in this video, but it will be used in the future. It's wrong spelling. And this should be in the dictionary. And then we copy it down here and say that's fine. And the next thing we need is the domains. And the domains it's using when we going from a website. You having a web login, then we need to allow domains. So that's what we need here. So a list directory. Or list field, sorry. And then we need to go in for administrators, and the administrators is using for who is the admin for this provider. We have the core system of the authentication. You can be an administrator here. If your administrator is the basic system, then you are administrator on all providers too. And then you can be an administrator on a single provider. It could be you and your friend build something, and your friend should be an administrator on this project, but it should not be allowed to control anything on here on your project. So that's why we bind it up here and say administrator. and it's a list field too, and it will contain object IDs for the accounts. Then we need a secret key for the private use and one for the public use. The private, it's something you use if you're creating systems between each other. Then you're having the servers connecting to the system, and then you only need a secret key. The public will be if we have the domain here, it's allowed to be logged in, then it should send the public key, and on that we know what provider we basically are working with. So that's something we will do in a later too. So secret here, secret key, private should be a string, and the string have a max length of 64, and then we have a secret key when we build the public, and the public should be strings with the max of 32. Then we should be able to deactivate this provider. So like we have an account, the account should be deactivated or activated. The same we will do with our provider in this authentication system. So deactivate should be a boolean field. And the default should be false. As default, we will define this as false. That's the ODM we have right now, and we are ready for the next step where we want to creating a single provider now. So let's go for up here in the Flask and create the Flask provider. We have it here, class Flask provider. And we just do this, and then we're going inside for the app down below here, and we just say from library Flask provider import Flask provider. If you're going down, we will go down below in the session here. Let's copy the session and copy down the provider down, and what the first we want to do is create the create one. So we need the endpoint to say provider create, and this we need the method, and the method should be create, put here. So provider create should be put down here, but you can see we have a bug here. It will fail because in the provider here we don't have any function, so we need to call it static here. We need to create, and then we pass it up and see about this. Will be a bit of reaction. Yes, it's doing that. So now we can continue to creating the create area inside this function. So when we're going for the postman, and we are going for let's just close this, not this one, this one. When we're going for the body, we have the name and the domains and allow guest sign up. Oh, that's remember me about when using the guest sign up. So let's go in for the ODM again, copy it down here, and that's right, it's a boolean too, and it's false, so that's perfect. Let's go back here, and the postman we are speaking about, yeah, and that's what we want. We need to sending in, and we having a Mongo fail connection because we don't respond to anything. So that's what we gonna do right now. Before this Flask provider will working, we need a new file. So we need a library called provider where we want to do call whatever we want here. So let's call provider inside here, and then we will be creating an object now. So that's why we need administrators. and it's an empty list, and then we need a defined, oops, this one. And what we want to capture here, it's the provider ID, and that's union. So from typing, import union, have it here, and it could be both string or none. And as default, we would say it should be none, and then we're going inside. If the provider ID is not none, then we do something else. We're going inside and say the self provider, it's equal to ODM provider, and the ODM provider will be imported here from library, no, from ODM, and then provider, and then provider again as ODM provider. Then we get directly access to it here. And the next thing we want to do now is we need to create function, and the create should be passed for now until we know what's happening inside, and that's what we want now. We're going back for the flask provider here and trying to type out the first step. So let's going ahead to be sure what we're doing here. We want to say logging info, and then we need to say create provider, and you can see we don't have it, so we need to import the logging. And for the logging we need a little bit more, not for the logging, sorry, for the next step. We need a JSON, it's equal to JSON data is equal to request get JSON, and the request is coming from flask, import request. Yes, that's what we want here. And flask request, and we need a response to. So let's go a little bit down again. And we need to be sure. My point is, when you have a provider, not anybody that get access for the system should be enabled to create a provider. So that's why I will be sure about first is authentication it succeeds. If it succeeds, that's perfect, and then we need to be sure about the account is administrator. So first we want to say request, and then we ask about succeeds. If not, then we're going inside here to say pass. Then we're going for the one more time and ask about its administrator. If it's true, then we go inside here, else we're going inside here. And I know we don't have asking about that before, so that's why we want to handle this in the middleware. But before we handle this in the middleware, I will show about how it's working, so we can do a little bit more here with the response. The first one should be return here, should be a response, and then we need to dump, because we need to dump it out for the JSON, and then we need a status unauthorized. I can't spell it, it's pretty bad, I know. MIME type is equal to text JSON and then 401, and then we're scrolling up at the top and say from basin JSON util import dumps, and then we're going up here to say this one and say forbidden, and here we say okay. it's giving a status 200 here, and we will give it a 403. And that's how it's working right now, and it's fine for me until we are going for the next level. So let's try this out in the Postman and see how it's reacting, and we need to start the application, of course. And let's try it up here, and it's because the administration doesn't fit out here in this one, and that's because we don't have it in the middleware. So let's go in for the middleware here and scrolling down, and what we are scrolling down to should be the session ID here, and we need to look up the account. So what we need here is account equal to account. We don't have it yet, so from ODM account, and we need to import the account. Scrolling down again, say object and get the key, and we want to say the token key here, and oops, say the token, not the ID here, and we need to move it a little bit down here, and we're going down for the session ID here, and that's correct. And now we need say to administrator, and is equal to account administrator, and I need to sending the providers to, and the providers should be account providers, and then we save it, and going back for the Postman and click on send, and we are sending into the OK. So now we're basically hitting this one, so that's fine for now. So let's continue. So let's adding a little bit logging here to say login, and set info and say create provider authentication token not succeeds, and then we copy this logging and put it up here, and we will say account not a administrator. So let's go in for the Mongo here and update it up here and say I'm not an administrator anymore, and going for the Postman and run the same. It should be forbidden now, and that's correct, we are forbidden. And just for fun we can try to replace the E with a B, and then we should have an yeah, and that's working too, and we should be back with the forbidden. And if I'm change it again and say true for this, and then it's perfect. So now we can continue to create the provider. We'll say provider is equal to provider, and of course we need to add this ODM inside. From ODM provider import provider, and then we have it here. And what I want to sending back now, it's shouldn't be the content we will return about the provider. It could be something like we need the ID and something else, and then we need to create, and the create should having a little bit more, and we will go in for this function inside here, and we want to for now return nothing. So it's just working. And let's going back for the flask here and see what's happening. And what we want to add now should be the name, and the name should contain about the JSON data we have, and then we're going inside for this and saying the postman, the body, we have the allowed here, and we're coming back and say the postman, and then we have some, of course it's not a dictionary, it's just because I forgot what we're doing here. And then we go inside here and say we need name should be string, and this should be boolean, and we return a dictionary. And that's almost done now. Let's going up here and see what's happening if we, of course we need to start it up. We're going for the postman again, and we should return the provider have okay. Of course, yeah, of course we need to make a function out of it if we want. So we need to go back here and do it this way. It should working. Let's try it out, and it doesn't. And no, the ODM is great. I'm taking the wrong one. And we say library provider import provider, and here we go. Sorry for the mistake. That's what's happening when you do something. And we return, so it's going inside here to return everything we need. So let's continue to fill this out, and let's do so it's working to creating the first provider we have in the system. The first we want to do now is say self and provider, the name is equal to the name, and we do the same here. Provider allow guest sign up will be allow guest sign up, and then we need provider secret key private, and then we need the same for the public here. And of course we need to save it down below here. And the secret private and the public should be a randomized string, so we don't know which character this is. So as default, we creating the provider, we will having on the private will be 64 random characters included digital, like from 0 to 9, and the same will be happen for the public key, but just 32 characters. And for this we need to import random and import string, and then we going down for this one and say join random choose, and inside here we want to string and letters, uppercase or just say lowercase, and then we say plus string digits, we have it here, and then we say how many characters we want is 64, and then we basically just copy this one and say 32. And if I'm saving this again, it's reloading it. And I'm going for my Postman and save it. It should working, and it's look like it's doing. Let's testing inside here in the provider, and we have the first provider created. Congratulations! Woohoo! And here we have the secret key and the public key we have randomized inside here, and that's what we basically want to do. If we want to have a high lowercase, uppercase, sorry, then we can just say plus here, and we do the same here and say upper. And uppercase here, and we do the same again and create it and see about how it's working inside here with the second one. And now you can see it's having a small and uppercase and from 0 to 9, and that's more secure, so that's what I will prefer you to do too if you just coding by following me. Else of course you can download this code and do whatever you want with it, of course. And I think that's what we have for this video. So I will say very thank you and for your time, and I really happy you watched this video. And I hope you want to subscribe to this channel. You can just do it with the right corner below and press on the ding, and then you subscribe my channel, and smash the comments if you want, and of course hit the like button and share button and put it to a playlist if you want, and then you always can remember my videos. And I really appreciate your time you watching this video. Thank you so much, and I will be happy to see your feedbacks. Bye bye, and remember you can download this from GitHub. All the links you need will be in the down description. Thank you so much, and hope to see you next time.